And I do have a letter of no objection. And I have a letter of objection. That's all I have for the record.
Any questions for staff? Okay, applicant, please come forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in.
Morning, good evening. My name is Grant Talkie. I have been sworn in. The address we're discussing is 48935 West Bayway Drive. To be very plain and simple, as Ms. Curry kind of showed you what our exact plan is for this. Due to the fact that the house is built with concrete slab floors that are post-tension concrete, we have no options of putting an elevator through the floor without doing a lot of interior structural work. We've also looked into, to bring a quick run back, my company does accessibility solutions and whatnot for families that cannot get up and down stairs. Both of my clients are older in age, 75 to 85 approximately, and are having a hard time using their stairs in any way, shape, or form. Getting up to their master bedroom is the issue that we're facing. As stated, multiple products on the staircases require 36 inches. We have on average 32 to 34 inches, not leaving any room for someone to be able to walk up and down those stairs with said device to get our client up and down to their bedroom or the rest of their house upstairs. As mentioned, we have other solutions that can go through the floor as for elevators, but with post-tension concrete, there are cables inside the concrete. It's very hard to cut through, more so an engineering nightmare, as most may know. The reason we've decided to go outside is it allows them to go from one of their formal sitting rooms downstairs up to their master bedroom, which is what they desire, where they spend most of their time. Kind of tough to show you more images, but I gladly can. Same thing on the drawings. It shows exactly where the elevator is going to be. This is from the back, looking from the water side in. Aesthetically, it's going to tie into the existing roof. Going to be of all block construction. Let's see what else. I have to zoom in here somewhere. Let me see. This best shows what we intend to do. Of course, here's the existing structure of the house. The door will be on the interior. Elevator will take them up to their master. This is built off of the enclosure for the elevator. That's for the elevator mechanicals, as in the control unit where the electrical will go. Once again, that's going to be a hollow 2-story structure, just so they can store anything in there, anything extra at all that they can use. So, not too much for me to say. Once again, this is for my client who has a hard time getting up and down the stairs at this point, getting worse every day. So, that is all.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either on or against this application? Please come forward. State your name, address, and if you've been sworn in. Oh, she faked us out. Okay, nobody from the audience. All right, board, I'm going to, without objection, I'm going to move to open it for questions of the applicant and or staff. Mr. Pester.
The first thing I thought looking at the site plan is why not put this elevator on the back of the house in the exact same corner? It appears that the roof overhangs about the depth of the elevator, so it doesn't seem like it would be a setback issue, although I don't know that. And you could potentially put it in the backyard, access the same rooms without any need for a variance.
The thing that we noticed there is the exterior balcony is just a kind of a strut system, and I don't have the exact words for it, but also it's going to block their view completely of where we're going to be building the structure. I didn't have drawings done up for that by any means. It is a possibility, but once again, they're trying to maximize their property of putting it on the side of their house where they do have a property, about 2 feet extra after this enclosure. That's why we're here. That was the spot that they had most desired. And, blocking what is a big portion of the back of their house. If you take a look at where they sit, they look directly at the Howard Franklin, and that elevator hoistway that's going to roughly be 60 to 72 inches wide is definitely going to block a great majority of their view. So if that answers.
Okay, all right. The view is not something protected by you know, the hardship
Of course.
criteria. So I think that's a consideration that might be worth exploring, but I'll let others ask questions if they have any.
And can I continue to answer that? The only other thing would be is there's a sliding glass door there currently. We'd have to replace that completely to get another door to enter on both levels. So the construction aspect of it is going to be much more intensive as well.
Okay, so you're following up on the same question. Your
Yes, sir.
testimony is that there are two glass sliding doors above, one above the other, more or less, at the same distance off the corner?
Yes, sir. If you want me, I'll pull this up here.
If you have a picture of the rear of the house, that would be great.
I do not have one with me, but I'm sure I could go to Google or
Okay,
something
well,
like
that,
that and
okay,
find it
well,
very quickly.
that does answer the question. Your
Yes, sir.
drawing.
That is the very, very accurate description of the
Okay,
exact look of the
so
house.
kind of a hybrid of what the previous board member asked. The equipment portion of this could be into the side yard setback, perhaps some of it, and then the elevator. So you would lessen the visual obstruction, perhaps, and I'm not trying to design your project.
No,
just
of
trying
course.
to understand why that isn't a possibility. And then in which case you don't even need to be here tonight.
So, of course, so in that general aspect, putting the mechanicals and whatnot would have to be somewhere that's either going to be out, extending past the property line again. I get what you're saying, but looking at it from just a contracting point of view, replacing two of those sliding glass doors to make something else code compliant and tying them in, I feel like is going to be more of a structural deficit to actually make happen and make work. Yes, in the fact that it could work in that area, but we're still going to need to house mechanicals, which is then, instead of having it lengthwise, which it may seem, it's going to go widthwise, and we're going to continue to block that whole rear portion. Now, once again, I know view is not of a concern, but then we're going to be taking up roughly, let's say, half of that sliding glass door that's directly in their master and changing it to a door opening versus where they still can keep their exact sliding glass doors on the back side of their home there, on both levels.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree that you would have to modify the glass doors. These look like fairly wide doors. How wide are they?
Let me double check here. I would have to say that they're 16-foot doors.
So you
They
might
take up
lose,
a
so you
very-
might lose one 4-foot panel?
Yes, you would lose the back quarter of that area.
Right, so you might lose one 4-foot panel and still have a 12-foot wide door.
Yes, sir. I'd have to get the exact measurements on that. Once again, they could be
Okay,
12-foot
okay.
doors,
I
but
mean, we're not trying to hold you to.
No, of course, of
specifics
course.
here. We're just trying to understand the reason for the request,
of course.
okay? And so, again, the balcony is only this 2 or 3 feet deep beyond the wall? I can't tell from your drawing. Do you have a side drawing that you can show me? I
Which
think-
portion exactly are you asking
Well, I'm
about?
trying to understand the back of the house in relationship to the railings, and how deep is the
How deep is that
is the
railing
second
upstairs?
floor? Yeah, how deep is the second floor balcony?
I would bet 3 feet at maximum.
Yeah,
It
I
is
mean,
not large.
Right, I mean, it shows something that's dotted that says COV tile.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the balcony?
Yes, sir. On the second page, there's a lower kind of patio area. Then upstairs, there is a balcony.
Okay.
Basically, yes, where it says the COV, that's the balcony
Okay,
upstairs.
but this proposed shaft could go completely outside of the balcony and be attached to the face of the balcony, could it not?
Yes, but it would still be the same variance request of us wanting to go.
Well, I
Towards the
mean,
property.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is there's no changing the doors in that case. If it's just attached to the outside of the balcony where the railing is, there's no changing of any glass doors.
It would make my client have to go outside to get in an elevator, to go upstairs and go back outside, to go back
But
inside.
couldn't they enclose a connection hallway? In which case, then you would be changing the doors.
Yes, so it's, once again, the location that we picked structurally was cut and dry, that we could be able to get the lift in, knock out the wall, put the door in, get it inside their home, which is a big aspect for our clients. Of course, if they have groceries or anything like that, that they need to bring inside or bring upstairs or laundry, whatever it may be, they don't have to go outside in the rain, get inside an elevator, go upstairs, get out of the elevator, or without building some type of hallway system on their house that could be unnecessary.
What is the current rear setback on the existing house?
Let's see, we got it here in one of our pieces of paper. Give me one moment, sir.
The survey I have doesn't indicate. The survey does indicate the front yard setback is less than 20. It's 18.5, 18.7.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on here, sir, so I can't accurately answer that question for you at this moment.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Feldman?
Do you have the site plan?
Yes, I do.
Can you put that up on the screen?
You want the zoomed in version or the architectural?
Probably the,
I could zoom in on
yeah,
the,
go to the other version of it, the
Got it.
actual site plan.
blew this one up. I can still zoom in for
No,
you.
not the one I'm looking for, I'm sorry. Do you have the site plan of the whole property?
Yes.
It's in the packet, so. There you go.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
What is that section on the east side of the property? You see the 12-foot measurement on the east side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is that over there? Because you've got that slot in between, you got the 12 feet distance there where you've got the building coming out. What's in that area?
In that area, we have not even really reviewed. I believe there's pool equipment and whatnot over there from walking around the property beforehand.
Okay, so you think in that little niche, there's pool equipment on it?
Yes, sir. I mean, I've walked around the property and seen stuff there. I can't confirm what it is, but I would assume that it's pool equipment.
Okay, that's all I needed, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
My only rebuttal is, it's for our client, who's, having a hard time getting up and down his stairs. Of course, we drew these plans up. It's exactly where he wanted it. I know that doesn't have anything to do with the hardships of it, but really want to be able to help this client be able to use and live in their house as they used to before. They have a hard time even getting up to their own master bedroom to get a good night's sleep at the end of the day. So, we've tried basically every other accessibility solution in the house that would give them the same features, and it's not going to work due to the fact of the post-tension concrete that the whole floor is across the house. So, that's really all I have to say. I appreciate your guys' time.
Okay, without objection, I'm going to close the public hearing. Board, what is your pleasure for a motion and/or discussion?
I'd be happy to start with a motion for
Okay.
discussion.
Okay, blaze away.
Move that the variance request for case VRB 19-15 for property located at 4935 West Bay Drive be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing, to reduce the side yard setback from 7 feet to 1 foot with an encroachment for eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code. Specifically, that this is intended to be an accessibility solution, that there is some ADA type accommodation being placed in, that the applicant has considered staircase lifts, has considered elevators, that this is as a result of post-tension concrete slabs and the size of the existing stairway. This is the only solution. Installing this exterior elevator column is the only solution that makes sense based upon the current layout of the property and all these other practical problems that come with it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Feldman for approval. Is there a second? We have a second by Ms. Long. Board discussion? Mr. Nasser?
I just wanted to ask, is there any, if I wanted to, is this by default tied to the site plan, or would we be approving this setback for the length of the property?
Well, the motion references the site plan, and the site plan is made part of the record, so it would be tied to the site plan.
Okay,
I'm not in favor of it. I think that they could just simply move it around the corner. They could have minimized the setback by allowing for part of the shaft to go into the setback. They have 8 feet now. If it had to go a foot or so, I could certainly live with that. I just think that there was room to move it from around the side, and that's my feeling.
I tend to agree with you.
I understand that, as I'm the one that brought it up. However, we don't know that back dimension and it looks tight, so I fear that if they did swing that footprint around, that they might still have a setback issue and it would require renoticing, et cetera. So I'm okay, as long as it's tied to the site plan, that in the future it can only be built back in that same footprint and it doesn't allow the whole property to expand to the edge.
I'm making my determination based on the fact that we don't know what the setback is, but even if it were at or near the minimum, that it would be of a much less encroachment to the rear than it would be to the side. All right, so we have a second by Ms. Long and first by Mr. Feldman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. So it's 5-2. You've been approved.
Thank you. I appreciate your guys' time.
Next case is VRB 19-101.
Ready? Okay, this is a continued case, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Case number VRB 19-101, address is 3214 West Arch Street. This case was continued from last month. The code section in question is 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from 20 feet to 14 feet per notice, and I think he has an amended plan he's going to show us this evening, and we have included the amended plan in your packet, which is going to reduce the front yard setback from 20 feet to 18 feet. Applicant is constructing additions and renovations to existing home and preserving the grand tree in the front yard. Additional code section is 27-290. The applicant is seeking to reduce the rear yard from 3 feet to 0 feet for an existing storage shed. Variance would vest the existing conditions of the shed. Property is zoned RS50. And the property appraiser records are included for your reference. Right-of-way, transportation, and natural resources have found it consistent. Natural resources does have conditions. They are here tonight if you have any questions. Transportation is as well. Zoning has found it inconsistent. Property appraiser's information for your reference. Zoning atlas map on Arch Street is here. Property is here. Surrounding property is RS50. I included the previous site plan, so you can see what the initial request was and what the request has been modified to. And again, he has one more plan that he may want to amend, reducing this to show that it is 18 feet. We'll have him initial that tonight if that's an agreement. Photographs of the property in the front with the grand tree. Looking down the street to the east. Again, another shot of the front of the house with the grand tree. Looking west. And I have nothing further for the record.
Did natural resources leave?
They are here, Transportation and Natural Resources.
Oh, you're way back there. Can you come up and shed some light on your conditions? Mr. Knox? You got all dressed up. I want you to get on TV.
Brian Knox, Natural Resources. The conditions are the same as they were from last time. We just asked that they meet with us to discuss pruning if this project is approved.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, Mr. or Miss Applicant, please come forward. State your name, address, and if you've been sworn, you have 10 minutes to present.
My name is Robert Knighton. My address is 3214 West Arch Street, and I have been sworn in.
Okay, good evening again.
Good evening, thank you. We're here tonight to ask for, the main project is the one you want me to start with the shed first and then?
You can start anywhere you
Okay.
want.
We have a existing shed in the property. It was there when we bought the house. We purchased the house in like October of 17. The shed was already there. I did repair the shed because it was had some bones, so I did some repairs to it and stuff. Didn't move it, didn't modify it, anything. That was just there. So I'm requesting that it just simply stay where it's been for probably 30 years. And that's as far as the shed goes. I'm not adding to it or modifying it any, and I did not change the footprint of that structure. The front setback that I'm requesting is that the existing garage and it's actually a porch, but and driveway runs next to the grand oak tree, which is I'll put this on the map so we can see it. Which would be the grand oak tree is right here. It's approximately a 60-inch grand oak, and this little porch area is the existing porch, and the driveway runs right up next to the oak tree. And we're trying to remove all the concrete that was put in there, and then it has a circle driveway in the front of the house. It's out here that comes around on this easement. There's about a 20-foot easement to the edge of curb in the front, and it comes around this way and circles here. So I want to remove all that concrete and a stem wall there so that we can stabilize the tree. And basically what we're trying to do in the hardship of this is that we're trying to save a grand oak and move everything over. My current master bedroom is here where the garage is. I'm going to get rid of the master bedroom and convert that into a garage and move it. The initial problem we had last time I was here was that I was requesting the garage would be a little done because I was trying to put a laundry room in there also. But we're going to modify everything and just abandon the laundry room. I reduced the garage to 18 feet deep so we can get a car in. And I spoke with Roadway down in the city, and they said that I needed at least an 18-foot ramp here. And then the rest of the drive coming out is 18 feet wide with the 3-foot arch at the end, apron coming onto the road. So and that's pretty much it. And so the hardship is that I want a garage for protection of my family and wife, because at this point she has to get out and come from inside the house and park her car in the driveway and then walk in the house. So I'm trying to do it to where she can actually drive into a garage, have some kind of a life safety thing where she's not exposed to the environment, and or anything else out there might get her. And the shed in the back is, like I said, that's just her she shed, as I said last time. So I love that word, she shed. So, anyways, that's about all I got. So.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on or against this application? Seeing none. Board, we're open for questions of the applicant and or staff. Seeing none. You have 5 more minutes.
And the setback violation that I'm doing in the front now is 2 feet, by the way. I'm only requesting 2 feet of where we're actually encroaching on the setback in the front now, because it's the setback on this property is 20 feet, and I'm still 18 feet off so it's only a 2-foot section that we're actually encroaching into the setback there.
Okay, so your testimony is you're changing your application from 14 to 18 feet.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to say?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, without objection. Oh, I see objection.
Mr. Chair, I would just ask that we have the site plan marked and submitted to the record if that's possible. If we have a copy of it.
Yeah, if you could help us, staff.
Thank you.
I think I think we're headed there. Yeah, I thought it was marked up already, but maybe not.
I have 18.4 on my
Well, he's
site plan.
saying 18, so he's asking for
Yes.
4 more inches.
Okay, and then date it for me, please.
Well, that's what I just heard. He said 2 feet, that would be 4 inches. This is RS 50, right? It's
Correct.
20-foot requirement minimum? Right, he noticed for 14. Tonight he's asking for 18.
Correct.
So change the 4 to a 0 on the site plan, unless you want 18.4.
His
Yeah, I know.
plan that he has, that we're initialing tonight to enter into the record,
Okay,
shows 18 feet. And just so you
Thank you.
see. Yes.
okay, thank you
So
very
tonight,
much.
he's got 18 feet here,
Okay,
and he's initialed it and put it on the date, and we'll enter it into the record.
all right, thank you.
Can I have this tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so you're done with your 5 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, without objection, I'm gonna move to close the public hearing. Board, what's your pleasure? Mr. Feldman?
I am happy to move, to make a motion if the chair pleases.
Go for it.
All right, I move that variance request for case VRB 19-101 for property located at 3214 West Arch Street be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the front yard setback from 20 feet to 18 feet and the rear yard setback from 3 feet to 0 feet with an encroachment for the eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record at this public hearing and at the prior public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code. Do you need to comment on my statement?
If I may, Mr. Chair, just wanted to clarify that a reduction down to 0 should probably not include the language about the encroachment for eaves and gutters.
Okay.
Because it seems to imply an encroachment onto the neighboring property, which the board doesn't have the authority to
Fair enough. I
allow.
will accept that as an amendment, that there are no encroachments for eaves and gutters on the 0-foot setback on the rear. And I don't know where I left off. Of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the rear yard setback is intended to vest a shed which has existed for many years, that the front yard setback is minimal and is being done primarily to protect to protect the existing grand tree in the front, and so the modifications are being made, and the encroachment into the setback is being made in part to protect that grand tree. And I did want to note in my motion the natural resource condition that they meet to discuss pruning of that grand tree if necessary.
Okay, we have a motion for approval by Mr. Feldman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Long seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You've been approved 7-0.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You have a beautiful evening.
There's not much left. Okay, next case is VRB 19-112, also continued from November's hearing.
Okay, Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, VRB case 19-112. Address is 1514 South Arawana Avenue. Code sections under consideration is 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the north side yard setback from 7 feet to 0 feet. Applicant is seeking to construct an addition of an open carport / porte-cochere to existing home. The property is zoned RS50, and the property appraiser's information is included for your record reference. I'm getting tired too. Right away is found it consistent. Transportation is consistent with condition. Natural resources may have comments to add. Zoning has found it inconsistent. Let's work Florida County property appraiser's information for your records. Oh my God. Long day. Okay, property is here in red. I have Arowana going north to south, Mississippi here. The surrounding property is RS 50. Site plan, Arowana is here. Existing structure, front porch, walkway, driveway here. This is the proposed location of the porte cochere open carport. Front of structure. Looking to the right. Looking to the left. I have no other information for the record.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, we don't have any. Applicant, please come forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in.
My name's Timothy Jones, 1514 Arowana Avenue, and I have been sworn in.
Go for it.
I'm gonna talk fast. My client wants to, as you can see, this tree, is that right side up? Yeah. The tree area right here, he has to park out, he parks his primary car out here out on the street with his truck over on the side. He gets tree droppings, bird droppings, all the droppings that come along with South Tampa living. Wants to put a carport over on the side of his home over here, which is similar to this. Basically, we're just gonna build a carport right over top of the existing driveway. The reason we're asking for a 0 setback on the side yard is these columns on the front of his house. We wanna resemble those on the side, and to get enough space to put his primary vehicle underneath that carport, we have to have it right to the side with the footers. So this is, as staff said previously, this is the location of the carport. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I'm tired. I want to go home.
Okay. Anybody in the audience would like to speak on or against this application, please come forward. Don't all rush up here.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none, board, we're open for questions of the applicant and/or staff. I have one question. If you could put the elevation sketches back up.
Sure.
Since you're asking for 0, there's a slight hip at the top of that roof which would drain over the property line. Could the entire structure be moved in 6 inches?
I could eliminate that hip if you want to. We were just trying to mimic the hip that's on the front.
Well, I think you should have the hip. I'm just
Okay.
asking, can you move it in 6 inches?
I could, yeah, because of the eaves, yeah, because the,
I
yes.
mean, you have, it looks like you have some eave.
Yeah.
Not much, but
Yep.
some.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
the eave,
Has to be inside the property line.
has
Yeah.
to be inside the property.
Yeah, I can do that.
So without changing your relationship of the details,
Yep.
and on the site plan, what is the site plan? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Never mind.
Okay.
That's my only question. Anybody else have anything? Would you be opposed to never having it enclosed?
No, yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with
Not
that.
screened, just
No-
not screened,
Not
never
screened. It's
enclosed?
always gonna be a carport, never to be enclosed, never be a living space, never, never, It's fine with me.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, you have 5 minutes. All
Done.
right, he waives his 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So
waived it.
Without objection, I'm gonna move to close the public hearing. Board, need a motion and/or discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Long.
I move that the variance requested for the case VRB 19-112 for the property located at 1514 South Arowana Avenue in Tampa, Florida, be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public meeting for a reduction in the north side yard setback from 7 to 0, section 27-156.
Oh, we said 6 inches.
6 inches.
Huh?
6
Oh, he
inches.
changed it to 6 inches?
6 inches.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, 7 feet to 6 inches.
Okay.
Section 27-156, thank you, with an encroachment for eaves and gutters. Based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 2780 of the city code, specifically that there is a large tree slightly off-center in the front yard that dumps leaves and twigs all over the car. There is no other place to put his car where there's any protection for it. It is the only place where that carport could be located. And so that's what they're doing. And the carport, and they have agreed that the carport will never be enclosed.
Okay, we have a motion for approval with conditions. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Villa. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's go, head count.
Aye.
Aye? Nay? Aye?
Aye.
You're approved, whoop. Excuse me. You're approved, 4-3.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Next case is VRB 19-109.
Ready? Okay, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Case number VRB 19-109, address 2801 North Nevada Avenue. Code sections in question is 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 7 feet. Applicant is seeking to construct an addition of an open covered canopy to existing porch area located in newly created front yard as a result of a lot split, with the existing primary structure remaining in place. The property is zoned RM16, and the county record is enclosed for your reference. The lot split was approved through a formal decision, FDN 1805, and I'll show you what the ramifications of that in my presentation. And the formal decision letter is attached into your packet. And the reason we attached that, it was because there's several conditions that we highlighted and let you be aware of in that formal decision, that which the applicant would still have to be in compliance with. Right away, Transportation Natural Resources has found it consistent. Zoning has found it inconsistent. Property appraiser's record for your reference. And what I'm concerned about is I'm not sure that the lot split's recorded on this as of yet, but it may be. That's the existing structure. Formal decision. And as outlined in your packet, on page 3 of the formal decision, we've highlighted the conditions for your reference. I believe there's one on page 4 as well. Zoning plan. Property is located here on the corner. Nevada is here, Gladys is here. There's a PD to the northeast. The remaining property is RM16. Let me explain the lot split a little bit. So the survey shows both parcels as it formerly existed. So the original lot was here. And again, if you remember our previous discussions with zoning law definitions, this would have been the front yard, corner yard, rear yard, side yard. With the lot split, that's all changed. So now, this is the lot in question tonight. This is going to be not included and split off for another address. So now, because this is the shortest dimension facing the street, this is your front yard, corner yard. Front, opposite front is the rear yard, side yard. So what's happening is the existing structure to remain is remaining in place, and the way it sits today is now a non-conforming structure. So RM 16 requires that the front setback be 25 feet, and he doesn't meet that already, because he's at 20. There's an existing front porch here, not covered. His request tonight is to ask for a canopy over this existing front porch, which is now the front porch. And so he's asking for that setback from the new front yard to be reduced to 7 to allow for the new front cover. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the house and the front of the house as it existed and as they understood it, and then I'll show you what the new front porch is. So this was the previous front of the house, okay, which is now the corner yard. This is looking south, corner of Gladys, and this is Nevada. Looking down Gladys. This is that former corner yard, now the front yard, and here you can see the existing portion. A better picture of that. Looking down Nevada, looking north. Again, now looking right into the property at the corner. Again, this is the front yard where the front porch exists. Looking back down Gladys, where there is a fence, and that was part of the condition, is that fence be removed if this lot is now going, when that lot is developed. Sorry, my tongue is getting tired. Okay, so again, your new front yard, and here's a better shot of that front porch, which is existing, and they want the canopy over here. And I have nothing else to enter into the record.
Okay, so just for clarification, the existing front porch appears to be a raised wood deck, is that right?
Yes,
Okay, so that in itself is not a setback issue, is it?
correct.
So it's the extension of the overhang and/or canopy that they're proposing that's
Correct.
causing the request? Okay, I just,
By right, he can encroach 3 feet if it's cantilevered. It could be an overhang, but since he's going 7 feet, that requires the variance.
okay. Mr. Pastor?
So with a non-conforming structure, if somebody were to buy this property in the future and tear down that house, they'd have to meet the new codes.
Correct.
So if we grant a variance on a non-conforming structure, does that variance disappear at the time that that house is torn down?
I don't believe so. I believe the variance does stay with the land, as we remember from last month's testimony, and it is site plan controlled. It does stay with this site plan and this footprint.
Okay, well, okay, so, but this footprint is not vested for future development, though. It's only vested in its current state because it's non-conforming. If it gets torn down, you can't build back in that same spot, right?
Correct.
Because it's non-conforming.
But if we vest it,
If, that's my question.
yes.
Are we now making a non-conforming structure entirely future vested or just the porch?
But just to this site,
To the
Just
site
to this
plan
site plan.
Specific, yes.
just to this specific site plan, yes. If this house were torn down, they could rebuild it in this exact location if we vest it.
So they would not be required to meet current code.
Correct.
But if we did not grant this and that was torn down, they would be required to meet current code.
Correct.
Okay, so we would be changing the
Yep.
entire vesting of this entire property based on this one porch.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Well, I want to ask legal that question. Is that correct?
I want to make sure I understand the question, and I think what you're asking is that the variance is applicable to the porch, but are you saying that the regulation to the entire house would be different once the structure comes down?
That's what I'm asking. If the house is non-conforming only in its existing state, and that in the future state, if somebody wanted to develop that land, they would have to meet whatever the codes were at that time, then it's odd that we could make a variance to that structure that supersedes the nonconformity being eliminated in the future. You see what I mean?
I would just, if we could get staff to clarify that if, what the setbacks would be if the entire structure was removed, and so that I can understand what the actual difference is that you're talking about.
They can't even split the lot, regardless of whether he wants to make an addition. They can't split the lot because it's non-conforming unless we give the approval on the existing non-conformity, right?
The lot was split prior
Oh,
to.
Hold on. Not your turn
Not
yet.
your turn yet.
You'll be able to say that.
You're getting prepped.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well,
They've,
I mean,
they've
let me-
split the lot. They have a non-conforming structure. Do we need to approve that? Is my question.
It's not in front of us.
Splitting?
It's, the only thing we need to approve is whether they want to put a roof over that porch.
Well, but specifically, if you look at the site plan where there's a 20.5 foot new front
Right, which is
dimension,
already under.
which is non-conforming, that's Mr. Pasteur's question. By approving the 7-foot reduction in what's already non-conforming, if the house burnt down and they wanted to rebuild it as it's drawn on this site plan, that 20 and a half feet is non-conforming to the current code. So
Right.
by approving this little 7-foot awning or whatever it is in
Right.
fact vesting any other setback, non-conforming setback that exists on this site plan.
I don't know the answer to that question. My thought would be that it would be tied to the site plan, but I think you raised some issues there that I don't know the answer to, as far as, the notice issues that would come with the fact that once it comes down, I would have to research that.
Because
I'm
let's
not
say
familiar with the
theoretically,
cases on that.
a developer buys this in the future, they tear down this house, they build back maximize the most amount of square footage they can put on this property, and they decide they want a one-car garage that happens to be the width of this porch out to 7 feet because that's vested per this site plan. Can they do that? Because we grant this variance on this nonconformity, does it carry into the future? Or do we say, no, that was with a non-conforming house and now you have to meet current code? I don't know.
My inclination would be that the variance that would be granted tonight would only vest the variance that is needed tonight, and that to the extent that in the future conditions changed and created where they were, new conditions that would require further encroachment based on a different code, then they would need a new variance at that time. But I don't know the answer with confidence because I'm not familiar with any case law on that particular issue.
I'm looking at this letter that was sent by Tampa Gov, and there's a line in here that says, on page 3, and it's highlighted, the house is currently non-conforming to setbacks and will need a variance for the front yard, because now that we've switched the front yard, which is a 25-foot setback, the house sits at 20.5.
5.
Yeah, so
Close.
it's not a lot, but my understanding, I thought, was that once they've split this lot, now the house is non-conforming. I thought we needed to approve that, regardless of the fact that they want to add a roof on this thing.
Well,
we don't have
you're
to
not
approve-
required simply because something is non-conforming. You're not required to approve it. There are provisions in the code that allow for structures to continue to exist in a non-conforming state.
It's only non-conforming because of the split.
Right.
So
Well,
it's a
yeah,
new
but-
non-conformity.
That's correct, but they're only here tonight because of this request to extend the roof. If they weren't pulling the permit, they're not here tonight. They don't have to come here.
That's all this letter says
Well,
from the city.
okay, maybe I'm wrong.
To confirm, the lot split has been approved.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's not approved conditioned upon our variance?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, well, that's different than what
that's-
we've done in the
Yeah,
past.
okay.
Not what this says. but
Whether
that's
we
different.
agree or not, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we're moving forward with the understanding that we are in fact vesting the front yard non-conforming setback only, because the other setbacks are less than what the house currently occupies. The side, rear, and corner side.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done with questions or answers?
Well, just, staff wanted me to clarify that in the section is 27-298, and it just talks about how non-conforming structures can continue to exist as long as they're not enlarged, which is exactly
Right.
what you had stated.
If they weren't pulling a permit, they wouldn't be here tonight.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I think we're done. Applicant, please come forward, state your name, address, if you've been sworn, and how much fun you're having.
Whew. Well, this is the first time for this. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Dominique DePoint, 2801 North Nevada Avenue is the house we're questioning. I bought the house about 2 years ago, actually in December. The lot was already separated off when I bought the house. It was not part of the purchase at all. I've had a front porch forever. I've got a ton of trees. I can't really enjoy my front porch in the summertime. There's no cover over it. So I'm just trying to put a simple awning over my porch. And that's really it. And I'll leave it to questions for you guys. I don't really know what else to say.
Okay. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak on or
Chad,
against
you got
this
anything you want? That's my contractor.
application? No, seeing nobody, we'll move to board questions of the applicant and/or staff.
It appears that this faces a school or something?
Yeah,
The
it's
side that you're
the Boys
looking-
and Girls Club. That's part of the reason I want the awning as well, to give me more privacy, because they have an elevated soccer field that literally faces my front window, and my office is right there. So it's part of the other reason I kind of wanted it to just kind of block myself from the Boys and Girls Club a little bit more.
Any other questions?
Could we do this the way we do other things and just say this applies only to this structure, and once the structure comes down?
No,
No.
that's what.
Yeah,
the
I'm
discussion
fine with
is.
just saying that I'm just going to put an awning here. I don't
You
plan
already
on
said
closing
that.
it or.
You've already done that.
No, I'm just asking.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, based on the site plan, it's.
Okay.
Yeah, I was unaware until I bought the house that the front yard changed, because I had a Nevada address, so I thought the side setbacks were only gonna be 7 feet. And then when we pulled the permit is when we found out that they changed the whole direction of the way the house went.
That's how we found out too, years ago.
Surprise, surprise.
I have a question.
And there's really no need to condition this for any reason, because he's already testified it's just an awning. Correct? Okay.
I have
Any
a
other
question.
Question, go ahead.
What's your hardship?
It's honestly, it's just in the summer times, you cannot use the porch. The sun beats down on you. It's also doing a little bit of damage to the interior of my house from just excessive sun, tons of leaves out there. And when it rains, I sit out on my porch every day. That's kind of just my unwinding place. And you can't use the porch half of the year when it's raining all the time without a cover.
Okay.
Are
Thank
there
you.
other homes in the neighborhood that have covered front porches?
Most of the homes in the neighborhood have covered front porches. It's Tampa Heights.
Okay. Any other questions? You have 5 more minutes.
That's everything I have to say. I don't want to take anyone more time. I can't believe you guys are here this late.
All right, without objection, I'll close the public hearing. Board, do I have a motion or more discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Pastor.
Move the variance request for case VRB 19109 for the property located at 2801 Nevada Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan and presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the front yard setback from 25 feet to 7 feet with encroachment of eaves and gutters based on the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 2780 of the city code, specifically that this is a non-conforming lot that was split, and that what would appear to be the side yard is actually now the front yard. The front porch is existing and is looking for a cover for the practical reasons of a covered porch, and that it faces a non-residential lot.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Long seconds for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You've been approved 7-0.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice night. Happy holidays.
You too. Okay, next case, VRB 19-116.
Okay, on the home stretch, only 4 more to go. Okay, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, BRB 19116. Address is 159 Biscayne Avenue. Code sections in question 27156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 5 feet 8. Applicant is seeking to vest existing conditions of side yard setback of 2-story addition with first level screen porch built per permit number 195-139.002 in 2000. Applicant is seeking to enclose screened in room and make it an air-conditioned sunroom within the existing footprint. Property is zoned RS 75 and the property appraiser's information is included for your record. The right-of-way has found it consistent, transportation is consistent with conditions, natural resources is consistent, zoning has found it inconsistent. I'm going to go through a couple of things, a little bit more detail on this one. Again, this was the original house, this was the addition in 2000, that was per the permit I referenced. Zoning map. Again, this is on Davis Island, Biscayne Boulevard, Biscayne Avenue is here. The property is here. Surrounding properties are RS 75. Front of structure. Looking east. Opposite direction, looking north. Again, a little bit close up on the front of the house. The reason we reference the permit in the application is because it's critical. This is the survey submitted for the application. Biscayne Boulevard, driveway, existing structure. Again, this is the addition in 2000. This is the side yard in question tonight, and the dimension there shows 5 feet 8. This is the screen porch area, which she's looking to enclose. This is the proposed site plan, proposed floor plan of what is intended. Again, this is the enclosure she's asking to change out from screen to with the enclosed air-conditioned space here. Elevations of what it would look like
Could
once
you zoom
completed.
out? Thank you.
Okay, this is why the permit is critical to her case. Staff has found the historical permit for this property, and this was the site plan presented at the permit, and it was approved with conditions. It's got the city stamp. However, the addition wasn't drawn to scale on the permit, site plan, and therefore it was approved because visually it looks like she was fine. The setback was fine according to this plan. As we dug further into the drawings, what happened and how did she get built this way, and why is she here for the variance, and it's horrible, and it's a historical drawing, so it's hard to read. I truly apologize. But if you look at the dimensions that are proposed in the architectural drawings that were approved for the permit, and if you go back to the property appraiser's record and look at that size of the addition, it matches the permit, okay? This was the critical drawing for us when staff was doing the research. Addition shown 2 stories. This is the critical drawing right here. This one is to scale, but you can hardly read it, and it's tucked up in the time. You see the difference right here, and you see the dimensions. This drawing is to scale, and it shows that this corner of her house sticks out 4 feet 4 which greatly reduced the setback here. It was approved, it went through permit, it went through inspections. She's gonna give you a little bit more highlights on her history of that situation. I have nothing else to add to the record.
I've got a question. Does the zoning code allow, if I understood the design of what was permitted and built, it appears there was like a second-story cantilever. Am I
No, it's
correct?
two-story, it's a two-story volume.
No, I know, but did it go all the way down to the ground? That encroached part in the plans, was it drawn that
It
way?
is
To
to
go all
the
the way down to
wall.
the ground?
And there is an overhang, I think I've got a picture in the back. So this would be that wall, and there is an overhang.
Yeah, but if you go back to that last approved critical plan that you showed us, could you put that back up?
Where is it?
Okay, slide it over so I can see the other side of the drawing.
You want to slide this way?
Right there. It appears there's an overhang of the second floor.
Right here, and
No,
right here.
the other drawing, or maybe I've got the wrong.
This one here.
Yeah, is that not on the right side of that drawing? What are we looking at, the back of the house or the front of the house there? I can't read it, it keeps moving.
That's the back of the house.
Okay, so that wouldn't make sense, so the front of the house drawing, which is the one right there, shows everything lining up. It's odd. Anyway, okay. But anyway, my question is, if the intent was to have it
Well, I take
overhang,
that-
the second floor overhang, the code still requires a 7-foot minimum on the second story, is that
Okay,
correct?
I take back what I said on the record.
Oh, okay.
This is the side,
That's the side.
and this is the rear. This is the
That's-
full 36 feet wide,
Okay,
okay?
okay, so we don't have the front sketch of the addition on this
Well,
drawing?
it's attached to the existing house.
You can't see, you couldn't see it. Okay. But anyway, my question is that even if it was clear as day and somebody wanted to cantilever the second floor only into the 7-foot setback, is that even allowed without a variance? The entire second floor, if it
If it's
cantilevered
enclosed livable space, it would have to meet the setback.
in? Okay,
Only an overhang can encroach 3 feet.
only an overhang. Bay
Not-
windows would have to meet the 7-foot setback.
Architectural features are allowed to encroach.
Okay,
in
so
some
this is not an
districts.
architectural feature if it's the whole second floor.
No, it would not be
Okay.
considered a 36 wide 8-foot window.
All right, thank you. You have a
Okay.
question?
I have a question. So if we were to boil this down, we're talking about a 16-inch encroachment from 7 feet to 5'8", 16 inches on a building that was fully permitted and inspected and approved. Yes?
One more time, ask your question.
We are talking about a total of a 16-inch encroachment from a building that was permitted, inspected, and approved.
Correct.
Okay. So hoping this will be a quick presentation.
Okay, applicant, please come down, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in.
Pam Shives, 159 Biscayne Avenue. Yes, I have been sworn in,
Okay?
and I want to know why I have to be here too, but I know the answer to that. I'm requesting the setback because of exactly what Ms. Roberta just explained. I'm trying to just cut through my notes because we already covered most of this stuff.
Sorry.
Well, I'm trying to make it easier for everybody. The second floor, we put the second floor in, and that is our living quarters. And the first floor on the right was a screen porch, what I thought was kind of cool, but after I found out that Florida humidity was like, that was a mistake. And the other side we left open intentionally because my late husband had started woodworking as a hobby, and so it was for him to have that available and then for me to do gardening. And now I've come to, that was in 2000, and now I've come to realize I need to rethink whether I want to go up and down stairs. And also, I need to make sure I have space available in the event I need somebody to move in to take care of me. So that's what actually prompted the idea of beginning to screen in go ahead and close the screen porch so I could have more use for it and make it air conditioned. This is what it looks like from the front of the house, looking back, and how do you move this thing, up or down? Up, down, backwards, no, what?
Just this little knob right here.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. There you go, perfect. So this is the front of the house looking in the back, and that's the entrance to the screen porch from the front of the house. And then this is what it looks like at the back. We started this process in April, so everything was cleared out. We never expected a problem, because we'd done lots of work on the house over the years and we were so cautious about all of this. So we'd already cleared everything out, thinking we were gonna start construction. Well, here we are 7 months later, still stuff piled in living rooms and things like that. So that's what the screen porch looks like. And then this is what the back of the house looks like, which you were asking about a minute ago. So that's the second floor, and then you can see here where the open area is. This is like a closet for storing lawn stuff and things like that. This is the actual anticipated use of the space. This is going to be converted to a bedroom and a bath. This is the existing staircase to the second level, and then this is where I'm trying to enclose that to make it more usable. And then she's already sort of shown you this one, which is the elevation. And and it's essentially all windows. It's all impact windows with a 3-foot stucco base to it. I sent out 26 letters to my favorite friends. And that's me, my little house, and this house, that house, and this house, northeast and south, all happy to have it done. They had no problems, no questions, said they even come down if they needed to. Thank God I saved them from this, but that was it. So that's why I am asking respectfully that you grant my request.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes, indeedy.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on or against this application? Seeing none, we'll open for board questions for staff or applicant. I just have one. The picture you showed of the side in question, could you put that back up that showed the second story above it?
Was it a drawing or a photograph?
No, it was a photograph.
Okay. I have a couple, I'm not sure which one.
I think it was the last photograph you put up.
I think that's what I was thinking you might meant.
Yeah, slide that down a little bit. Okay. The existing setback of 5 feet 8 inches, is that measured to those double doors, or is that measured to the pop out above it?
The foundation.
Okay. It's.
No, this is the
Oh, wait a
back,
minute, this
not
is
the
not
side.
side.
No, that's
Okay,
not
I'm
side.
sorry.
No.
It's in the side. I got them confused. So go back to the other one.
I'm not sure I have a side view
Well, I
of the
thought you did.
photograph.
I think you did, but that maybe is how I got confused.
Oh, I have another, I know what, I think, here, no, that's not it. Here it is. As much as I practice and watch you guys on TV, I can't believe how nervous I still am.
That's okay. We're not
No,
gonna.
that's not gonna help you.
Okay, that doesn't help. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the side I'm talking about, and that has what looks like a 2 or 3 foot overhang, but that's,
Oh, that's just a little roofing that goes
Yeah.
right there. And it does a great job of keeping the rain and stuff off the
Okay.
porch. It was really awesome.
okay, but that's allowed. It's an overhang. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
It's all yours.
Okay, I'll move to close the public hearing without objection. Board, is there a motion or discussion? Don't all speak at once.
Trying. Move that variance request for case VRB 19-116 for the property located at 159 Biscayne Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan. Present the public hearing for a reduction in the east yard side setback from 7 feet to 5 foot 8 inches with encroachment of eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 2780 of the city code, specifically that this project was permitted, built, inspected, and approved by the city without this encroachment being discovered, that the existing porch footprint will not be changed by enclosing it, and that it's already enclosed above on the second story at this same point on the property.
Okay, we have a motion for approval by Mr. Pastor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Hurtak. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. You've been approved 7-0.
Thank you, and I'd really like to say how much I appreciate the support I've had over the last several months from the staff, especially Miss Roberta, who's, late in the game. And I could not have done this without them, and they gave me such great confidence, and we're just always there and supportive, and I really, really appreciated everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
We appreciate them as well.
Yes, we
They
do.
help us get through this.
All right, next case is VRB 19-117.
Okay. Ready? All right, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, VRB case number 19-117, address 8506 L Portal Drive. Code sections under review this evening is 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard setback from 20 feet to 12 feet, to reduce the south yard setback from 7 feet to 2 feet for the primary structure. Applicant is seeking to vest existing conditions of that structure. Next code section is 27-290. The applicant is seeking to reduce the south side yard setback. Boy, is that a tongue twister. From 3 feet to 2 feet, and front yard setback from 60 feet to 57 feet for the accessory structure. Applicant is seeking to vest existing conditions. Property is zoned RS50, and the property appraiser's records are here for your reference. Right-of-way has found it consistent. Transportation is consistent with conditions. Zoning has found it inconsistent. Again, and you can see the existing footprint of the house and existing structures, which were built in various times. Zoning map. I've got L Portal Street here running north-south. Property is here. Surrounding properties are RS50. Site plan. Get myself oriented myself. Let's see. Okay, so this is the street here. El Portal, existing structure. Number 1, primary structure. Structure 2, 1-story building. Existing canopy, which I believe is now gone. An applicant will bring you up to date on the current property. This is the side that's basically in question here for the reduction. This is what we call the accessory structure. It does meet the 15% minimum square footage. It's just under that 750 square feet requirement. So it is classified as an accessory structure. And it should be 3 feet from the side, 3 feet from the rear, which it meets, and 60 feet from the front. So it's just shy of that 60-foot requirement. Looking at the property from the front. Looking north. Looking south. Close up on the south side, again, where that structure was. This is probably the approximate location of that property line. Again, a little bit closer, looking down that side of the property and the accessory structure in the back. A little bit better view from the other side. Again, this is the accessory structure. I have no other information to enter into the record.
Any questions?
Or, sorry, I take that back, I take that back. I believe you have in your packet, no, sorry, he's gonna have it with him today. He's gonna have a letter of support today. Okay, that's all I have. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
any questions? Nope. Okay, applicant, please come forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in.
Good evening, my name is Edir Leon. The address is 8506 Airport Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33604, and I've been sworn in.
Good evening.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for having me here today. Gloria did a great job explaining basically what I'm requesting today is a variance for the setback. How can I get this closer? So this is the 2019 picture. This is how the house is right now. Basically, the setback for the front should be 20. It is 12. This side piece right here should have 7 feet, which only has 2. And then this is the accessory, which should have 60 from the front and only has 57. And the side, like Roberta said, should have 3, but it only has 2. What I have here is, this was in 2019. I purchased this house on April of 2019, so only a few months ago. I haven't made any structure changes. As I put on my application when I purchased the house, the condition of the house was not the best shape. I had to take care of the most important things. I mean, pest infestations, roof leaks. I had to change a few parts of the floor, a few parts of the walls, the roof. But I haven't added any part of the structure. Just showing that I haven't, and number 2 of the application is that this is not a hardship that I created on myself. So I purchased this house as it is, and I can go back as far as 2006, and you can see that the structure has remained the same. This picture here is 2018, and as you can see, we see the property the same way. I mean, of course not the same way. As you can see, this is all some of the debris that I had to take care of and throw away. But you can see the front of the house is still, you know, same as 2019. The side part was there, and then the accessory, same. This one is from 2017. You can see the year right there, 2017. House remains the same. The front of the house remains the same. The side of the house, same. The accessory, this is 2016, same thing. House, accessory. This is 2014, same thing. This is 2012. You can see the front of the house. This is 2008. And then the last one that I found was 2006. So as you can see, comparing, you know, all the way from 2019 to 2006, the front of the house has always been the same place. The side of the house, which is this one in question, has always been there. And then the accessory, which is this part here, has been there for a number of years. I know for number 3 of the application, I believe is if this will interfere with the wellness, safety of my neighbors. I mean, this has been like this for years. As part of the application, of course, we had to send the letters to all my neighbors. My next door neighbor, which would be the house that will be the most affected, is the one right here. He actually, in your packet, you should have a letter. His name is Miguel Laguna. He has no problem. He was actually a prior owner. There's been a few owners of this house, and the house hasn't changed structure. So he has no issue. He signed the letter. My neighbor from across the road, he was actually here tonight to support me. However, because the session was so long, he left around 9. But before he left, he did sign his letter, and I would like to enter this, if I may.
Hand it to staff.
Wayne has been living in the neighborhood since 1991. I wish he could have said it himself, but he said that since 1991, the structure has always been the same. He knows that it was built back in 1940s, but since 1991, the structure has remained the same. The front of the house, the accessory from the back. So this is the main reason why I'm here tonight, asking for this variance to be approved. It wasn't something I created myself. I do understand that as a new owner, I do have to, find a solution, a remedy. A hardship, if this is not approved, of course, is, like I said, the condition that about the house was not the best, so I did have to invest a good amount of money and time fixing, restoring this house. And if the variance is not approved, taking 8 foot of the front of the house, that's basically gonna leave me with not even half a house. And then I also, of course, invest money in restoring the accessory part. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either on or against this application? Seeing none, board, do you have any questions for the applicant and/or staff? Are you planning to do renovation work inside the house? Is that why you're here tonight?
Inside the house, pretty much everything has been done. I mean, it was just, biggest part was getting rid of so much trash, pests. I mean, there was rats, everything you can think of.
But I mean, why are you here? If you're not pulling a permit, there'd be no reason.
The reason I'm pulling a permit is because I put in a door, a front door, an additional front door, so I need to seek a permit for that.
Okay, all right. I was just
So when I did the service, when I realized there was 4 setbacks that were not in place.
Any other questions? Okay, you have 5 minutes. You have 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Let me show you the pictures one more time. No, I mean,
I want to know, do you have a photograph, Google photograph from 1949?
No, I was
Okay.
not able to go back that
Thank goodness.
far.
All right. Do you have anything else, Mr. Long?
No, I appreciate all of your time.
Okay, you're welcome. I will, without objection, move to close the public hearing and ask the board for a motion and/or discussion. I've been keeping score. Let's see. I feel like Ms. Hurt, Ms. Walker, and/or
All right. I move that the variance request for case number BRB 19-117, located at 8506 L Portal Drive, be approved as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing, for a reduction in the front yard setback from 20 feet to 12 feet, a reduction of the south side yard setback from 7 feet to 2 feet for the primary structure, and additionally to reduce the south side yard setback from 3 feet to 2 feet, and the front yard setback from 60 feet to 57 feet for an accessory structure, based on the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, more specifically that that this is not a self-created hardship. This property has been constructed like this for many years. The applicant was unaware of the violations prior to just a few months ago. the alleged hardships will not substantially interfere or injure the health, safety, or welfare of others, as they are very minor in nature, and generally is in harmony with the Tampa Comprehensive Code of General Development.
Okay, we have a motion for approval, a second by Mr. Pastor. Any discussion? Great. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Been approved 7-0.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a short 5-minute break.
Okay. Now I'm in recess.
Oh, you're out, you're out. Never mind, we're not going anywhere. I thought we had a need. Let's do this. Okay, next case, second to the last.
Two more.
VRB 20-01, first case of 2020.
Yes, first case of your 2020 fiscal year. Okay, shall I wait for Ms.
No, she's recusing herself.
Oh, that's right, okay, you're right. Okay, Roberta Amid Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, VRB case number 2001. Address is 6915 North River Boulevard. Code section in question tonight is 27286. Natural Resources is here to maybe elaborate a little bit on that code. The applicant is seeking to reduce the wetland setback from 25 feet to 7 feet on the north side yard. Applicant is seeking to vest existing conditions of an accessory structure. Property is zoned SHRS, and that is Seminole Heights. And typically Seminole Heights, you'll do a variance administratively, but this is not a variance or a dimension or a item we can waive in an administrative process. That's why they're here tonight. Right-of-way transportation, let's see, right-of-way has found it inconsistent. Transportation is consistent. Natural resources, consistent. Urban design is inconsistent, and again, for that reason, I just stated for the Seminole Heights. Zoning, found it inconsistent. Property appraiser's record is here for your reference. Oops, I didn't read that, can you? Sorry. Let's do that again. Page 2, page 1. Zoning map. Again, Hillsborough River here. The body of water, the wetland in question is back through here. The property is located here in red. Again, the surrounding properties is Seminole Heights, single family SHRS. Site plan. It's hard to read so far away, okay. God, this is crazy. Okay, this is the wetland here. This is the street here. The structure, driveway, previous driveway, or driveway, and then the driveway here, carport structure here. Existing house. This is a cross-section of the property, existing house, showing the distance of trees and the structures and the depth of the wetland. This is the front of the house. Again, carport in question here. Front of the house again. This is the wetland area here at the dead-end street. Structure in question here. Get a little bit better view of into the wetland area. This is looking north up the street. again, down the street would be to the wetland and the dead-end street. And again, just another different shot of the house on the opposite side. In your packet, you'll have the natural resources report from Kathy Beck, but I think I'll leave that up to Brian to present. There is additional information into the record which talks about the wetland. I'm not going to go into depth, but there are several pages here. He did go get the EPC. They determined where the top of the bank was. Maybe you have something to add to that. This is the drawing outlining where the, sorry, it's upside down. Okay, again, the street, the wetland setback, and then this is the edge of the wetland or top of the bank. The remainder of the the packet I've included for you is approximately 60 pages. We won't go over all that tonight, but there is a member in the audience that is here, and he does have a presentation that he's given to the media department and has brought a backup copy if that presentation doesn't work. So I'll let that person go over that presentation for you. I do also have to enter into the record 2 code violations that are on the property, and that is probably why the applicant is here, to try to clear these violations. Okay. Any other questions for me?
Seeing none, Mr. Knox, do you
You want
wanna come forward?
Brian Knox, Natural Resources. The applicant is requesting a reduction to the 25-foot setback and reducing it to 7 feet for a covered patio and a shed. It was constructed back in 2011. Natural Resources received all the required and requested documents from the applicant to have this wetland setback reduction move forward. There's a 24 to 25-inch oak that is within the wetland setback, and there was a question of whether or not that tree was impacted. Natural Resources made the determination that it was not impacted. Other than that, there was also information submitted to EPC. The plans were submitted to EPC for review. They made the determination that there was no erosion or environmental concerns. And the delineation was determined to be at the top of the bank. The top of the bank is vegetated and provides adequate filtration and runoff. Based on the fact that this encroachment occurred over 5 years ago with no apparent environmental degradation, Natural Resources finds this application consistent. Natural Resources available if there's any additional questions.
Seeing none. Applicant, please come forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in tonight.
My name is Joe Murphy. I reside at 6915 North River Boulevard, and I have been sworn in.
Good evening.
On request of the presentation and recommendations of staff, these are the copies of the presentation. This one is actually not bound, it's just binder clipped. So it makes it easier to copy or do whatever for your clerk. I'm here basically to request a reduction in wetland setback from 25 to 7 feet. As mentioned, there is it is for a patio and cover, basically for a covered patio and shed. We were having some problems, but there we go. With my presentation, I talked to council, and there are handwritten notes on my copies that I didn't realize had to be presented separately. At the end of the presentation, I will basically give council the entire package to be submitted into the record. The first one are the 5 points, statement of hardship. The hardship here is unique and singular to the property. In 2011, as mentioned, a contractor was engaged to pour the patio and erect the patio cover. And at that time, he did not pull a permit. And because of the structure, I've been reported by a neighbor, and so here I am tonight. The hardship, it was not a function of my knowledge. It was the contractor who actually came in, did the work, received payment, and it was that gentleman who I contracted who did not pull the permit. The structure and request is not going to interfere or injure the health, safety, or welfare of others of the property owners around 6915 North River. And if this is not allowed, or I should say if it is allowed, then the benefit, let's see, how does that read here? The hardship, because it would be suffer, I can't read it from up here, I'm sorry. Allowing the voucher will result in substantial justice being done, considering both the public benefit intended to be secured by the chapter and the individual hardships are practical. That is correct in its statement. I'm not requesting more than any other of the neighbors approved encroachments in the area and encumbrances, and removing of the structure would significantly affect the wetland habitat. This is the vicinity map. The residents of the parcels in black represent letters that I have received or emails that were sent to the VRB that were in support. I have Mr. Travis Allred at 408 West Flora giving his support to the program or to the improvements, as you can read. I have Kevin Allred at 6906 North River Boulevard. Actually, this is Paul Barber. No objections to the granting of the variance. And Mr. Kevin Allred, 6905 North River Boulevard. Again, he has no issues with the owner, the applicant of the property. As mentioned, an EPC report was indeed requested, delineation report. And if you can see from here, the wetland line, top of bank, the 25-foot setback line is actually inside the housing structure here. The house was actually built in 1955 before wetland setbacks were actually part of the code. This delineation report was the result of obtaining an after-the-fact plan request with the City of Tampa. It should be noted that I have been to Construction Services. I have gone through plan review. They have accepted my application for a permit. It has gone through several departments and approved. And we basically ended up in urban design that noticed the wetland area, and that we need the delineation area report, and that probably a variance would be required. Here you can see the structure itself. It is in let me see here. The orange here represents the patio and the covered carport. The blue here is the shed, and the green areas are the grassy pervious areas around the patio that I'm requesting. In the original pouring of the concrete patio, there was a driveway that came out to River Boulevard. There was another complaint on the driveway, and the driveway was removed here in August. So therefore, that's why transportation is consistent with the improvements. With regard to the life safety issue, here is the fire hydrant at the end of the street. The structure of the patio. The patio itself, the cover, sets 29 feet from the property line and approximately another 6 feet to the fire hydrant. So there's about 35 feet to the area where the fire hydrant would be. There's no obstruction, as you can see. So to me, there's no life safety issue. If there is a fire anywhere, fire safety would be able to have complete access to the fire hydrant. As mentioned in the report, the property sits at a dead-end street. This is the end of the street. You can see across the canal here that the entire area is open. Basically, very little traffic except for the owner to the west of the property and our property here on 6915. Point out, we do have 2 cars in the household. The driveway is a single car driveway, and 1 car parks out in front of the house by the driveway. That car, I have pictures later. The front of the car there would be roughly 25 to 30 feet away from the fire hydrant when it's parked.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, you have about 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. I'd like to go over the encroachments. Here are the other encroachments in the area. You see 6916 North River Boulevard. There is a 35 by 45 foot patio, which is abutting right up to the wetlands. A large luxury home where the entire north side of the property is built into the wetland setback, as you can see here. These are the encroachments that the house has been approved for. This house was built in 2009. There's a 5-foot section of fence here. There's a 10-foot patio, and the main 3-car garage is 10 feet into the setback. Back here, the main house is set another 6 feet into the wetlands, and at the rear is 18 feet into the wetlands. Here it is. This is the rear where it's 18 feet into the wetlands. This is another shot of the side where they have a grand tree, and the house is only 7 to 8 feet setback from the grand tree. Again, here is the rear of the house set at 18 feet into the wetlands, and this is based on the seawall here and the size of the grand oak.
Can you wrap up for us?
Yep. This is the patio again. And again, this is the patio that is poured up to the wetlands. Okay.
Does that conclude your presentation?
I believe I hit all 5 points of the statement of hardship. If not, if there's a question, I'd be glad to ask, but I have concluded.
Okay, I'm sure we'll get there.
Okay.
Anyone else in the audience here to speak either on or for or against this application, please come forward. State your name, address, and if you've been sworn. Mr. Murphy, you can sit to the side or stand to the side. We may have questions.
Okay.
After we hear from others.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Michael Gonzalez. I reside at 6916 North River Boulevard, and I've been sworn in. My family and I own 3 of the 8 occupied houses on the block. The house that me and my wife live in was my grandfather's. It's been in our family for 3 generations. Since then, we bought 2 more houses on the street for our 2 daughters so that they can help us with childcare for their autistic brother as we get older. So we have 3 houses there. We've been here 3 generations. We're going to be here for a lot more. As such, I talked to city staff, and they told me that I could ask for some additional time since this is so important to us. They recommended that I make copies of the PowerPoint presentation that I presented to you, and I'm hoping that I can be granted that additional time so I can go over this with you.
We're awfully late. We'll take the information, and you've got other people. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to speak for other people, I don't mind.
I could take his time, and the other gentleman had to leave because it stood so late. I was, quite frankly, I paid $175 to make those copies because the staff told me.
I'm going to give you 5 minutes total, okay? So, go.
I need the PowerPoint presentation brought up, and then if somebody could just show me how to move to the next slide.
If we could have the sound check room or the sound room upload the presentation, please.
5 minutes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Here we go.
You have, is this here?
Okay, are
Is
we
that
up?
working? I've never done a PowerPoint presentation.
Will it come here, and then I just need to know how to click the next slide, please? 5 minutes.
Yeah, tell Applicant Q how to work that.
Let's go. I'm sorry, what do I just push this? Yeah. Okay. Okay, this first slide shows the reasons why we oppose the request. The second slide, I'm new to this, so I went to the City of Tampa website so I can identify the roles and responsibilities of the board. And it's those first 3 I'm going to be talking about. The hardship is not unique. It's self-created hardship, and it creates a safety issue. This is what the property looked like in 2010 when it was sold. You can clearly see the oak tree is 2 feet into the property and not hanging off the wetland when it was sold. Here you can see the huge backyard. There's plenty of space. There was no reason to build all this in the wetlands area because it's got a huge backyard. This is the spring-fed creek and some of the aquatic life. It's just like the one next to you ladies' restaurant, except this one is deeper and a lot longer. It's spring-fed. This shows that it's not unique because everybody on the creek has the same wetland setbacks and the same oak tree setbacks. In fact, this is our new house. You saw pictures before. The city actually made us carve our master bedroom around this oak tree so we can stay 20 foot. Our house was permitted, and it is 20 foot from the wetland, 25 foot from the wetlands, and 20 foot from the oak trees. This shows how everybody else solved the parking problem. They all added on to their existing driveway. The 2 violations clearly shows it was a self-created hardship. In fact, this is the EPC report that shows all the concrete extends across the yard and all the way through into the backyard there. Plenty of room for him to have utility storage and a covered sitting area. Next slides are going to show audio emissions. This one shows the omission of the U-Haul truck in the back, the jacuzzi, the pool, and the second shed, and all the concrete in the back. This slide shows that the carport, and he mentioned it was a carport in his presentation. It's 9 feet high, not 8 feet high. And it's got a swinging gate because it's going to be used for a carport, not a fixed gate. This shows a City of Tampa picture when he was cited the second time. He added side panels, so he's still performing work without permit, but he left it off his site plan. The reason he left it off the site plan, because here it shows that it's not 36 inches away from the meter box like it's supposed to. Here, you can see there's a car parked under the carport in the top and a boat in the bottom. Obviously, it's not 4 inches. It's not 4 inches because it can't hold the weight of a car and a boat. Actually, you can see that it's framed by 2 2x4s stacked on top of each other. So this slab is 7 inches, not 4 inches, intended to hold the weight of vehicles. So make no mistake what it's going to be used for if this is approved. Now, you see the only fire hydrant and you see how it's blocked. Whether the driveway is concrete or mulch, he uses it constantly. Here you can see behind the white car, there's plenty of room for someone to park illegally, but they continue to park behind and blocking the fire hydrant. Now, I am a retired firefighter, 30 years with Tampa. A blocked hydrant during the day is not a big deal because people hear the sirens, they're out there and they say, hey, fireman, here's the blocked hydrant behind that car. At night, it gets magnified because there's no one out there to show us. Firemen got to have water because you got to contain the fire while your other crews are doing search and rescue. When firemen don't have water, property is lost and lives are lost. It's that simple. Uh-oh. Okay, this speaks to the erosion that's occurred. You can clearly see on the right that it's like a 45-degree bank now. And the applicant recently cut 2 palm trees down from his yard, and they rolled into the creek. They couldn't even get them out because of the erosion. In fact, when you see this slide, you can clearly see that water diverted to the right and away from where the illegal construction is. So for someone to say there's no erosion, not to come out here and look during low tide or to look at before and after pictures to see how this tree was like this and now it's like this, it's just hard for me to believe that occurred. Anyway, the neighbor across the street, now please keep in mind, this is his backyard. So it is unique to him because they don't have a backyard. But the applicant encroached the wetlands on the side yard. Not only that, this gentleman made a wood deck so it would protect the oak tree roots and also would allow the rainwater to be widely dispersed through the wood decking and not cause erosion. You'll also see how his sheds, the roofs are perpendicular and not parallel to the creek, also minimizing creek erosion. So I have a couple solutions for you. The first one is to just remove the concrete that's around the oak tree, like the guy who was in here previously saying how he did it to protect his oak tree. Remove it by hand if you need to, and move the metal carport that he called a carport over to the other existing illegal concrete that's poured all the way across the backyard. You can see there's plenty of room to have utility storage and a covered area where they can gather.
Okay, can you wrap up, please?
Yep, second solution, add on to the existing driveways like everybody else. Instead, he put an oak tree. Who doesn't want to have a little shade in the hot summer months and lower your bill? But you can't do that at the expense of adding a second driveway next to a fire hydrant and constantly blocking it. Thank you for the extra time, and basically, these are the reasons why we are opposing this variance request and ask you to do the same.
Okay, thank you for hanging in tonight, because it's important to hear from everybody who's concerned. Next person, name, address, and if you've been sworn. And you have 3 minutes.
Is that? Do it fast. My name is Terry Gonzalez. I reside at 6916 North River Boulevard. I own 3 properties on this block, and I have been sworn in. The applicant claims he had a contractor which failed to pull a permit. This is not true. No one is permitted to have 2 driveways without consent from the board. The applicant put in a second front door and a second back door to the right side of his house without any permits. That you can see on this second picture. There's 2 front doors. He added a front door, and there's a reason behind this. There's another one. You see there's 2 back doors, 1 and 2. The applicant shortened the original drive by adding a large planter. So he actually, the original driveway actually shortened it for himself. The applicant had renters, one of which was a young girl who had a continuous flow of old men visiting the house on the hour, staying 20 minutes and leaving. More cars and more cars. I mean, there were a lot of cars. The applicant needed his own driveway to park his 2 cars and boat. One weekend he poured a continuous massive slab that began at the road, ran between the applicant's house and the creek, around to the backyard, past the applicant's back door into his renter's backyard. He did it on a weekend, and people know why you do stuff on a weekend, to get away with stuff. On the later date, the applicant failed to obtain a permit to remove an oak tree between the new driveway and the creek. When he bought the house, there was another oak tree that he removed without a permit. On the later date, the applicant attached a large metal carport along the side of the river over a concrete slab. Again, he didn't have a permit, and that was on the 7th day, and he's trying to say that he did this all at one time. They're different years. Several months ago, after his repeated threats against us and the neighbors, we discovered the applicant, the one crying the loudest, never had any permits. When the city paid him a visit, he busted a large section of concrete from the road to the house, threw much mulch down, and threw up a white metal fence. Somehow the city allowed him to keep this retrograded concrete. The city claims there is no erosion from his actions. This doesn't scientifically make any sense. You would have to have a before picture and an after picture to say change or no change occurred. Otherwise, change cannot be measured. How can you change? How can you say there's no change when you never saw it before? Upon request, the city could not produce a before picture, and their silence on this question is proof they have not one. We've asked for the picture, and they have not answered us on many things. My husband presented the before picture previously. If he was truly a victim of bad contracting, then he would have come before this board, pleaded his case before you, before he altered his concrete slab. Nobody in their right mind of innocence would remove a large section of concrete before suing a contractor or pleading their case in front of this board. This proves he knew he did not have a permit in the first place. You see, by having renters, friends and cars, his cars and recreation vehicles, he still did not have enough parking space. Even after the second driveway, he wanted to park on our side. To have more room, he wanted us to remove our tens and thousands of dollars worth of pavers.
Okay.
He would remove our pavers.
Time out. I need you to wrap up in 10 seconds.
He got his son to come on our yard to survey all the property and wanted us to remove it and claimed that because he worked for the city, he thought he got favors. When in truth, he was projecting because he works for the Tampa Housing Authority, so he knows better. And he works in the contract and development,
All right,
so he knows better.
That's enough, Mrs.
Thank you.
Gonzalez. You're welcome. Next, please come up, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in.
Christian Gonzalez, 6907 North River Boulevard. Yes, I've been sworn in, and I have a video. How do I play that?
Yep.
Got a video.
Okay, we need some AV help.
Was it video? Should it send it to us?
Yep.
Okay, because I only got one.
I had to send that in a week in advance. The PowerPoint was just due 48 hours in advance.
Okay.
So it was submitted.
Okay, while we're waiting on that, is somebody else going to speak?
I'll give him I was going to give him my time because I've been around it. I wanted to give him
What
my time.
you did, he gave me 2 extra minutes.
Can I give her my time too?
No, you can't. Sorry. Okay, so is there anybody else that wants to speak? I don't see anybody. Okay.
Go ahead.
Do we have video?
Do you have the video?
I can say this is a first for me. I've never had video.
Well, the pictures that the staff showed clearly shows a truck parked in the street blocking the sign.
Time out. You've already testified. Let her do her thing.
Okay, how do I play the video?
Say video.
Video!
Go video. I don't know. I haven't started the clock yet. Okay, go. Or you can talk.
No, we want you to see.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I would just suggest that there at least be some discussion of what we're looking at
Okay,
so
so
that we can
basically we're
authenticate
looking
it.
at him putting the sign up, taking pictures, and then taking the sign right off his yard. That's pretty much what we're looking at.
Is that all the video is going to show us?
Pretty much.
Okay. I mean,
No.
your testimony
Nope,
is
no.
your testimony is okay.
Okay.
Did you want to say anything else?
Nope, just the video. Kind of speaks for itself.
These are two separate pictures, right, for the record?
Right. 2 angles, yep.
So if
And
you
the
can
top one-
describe what's happening if you'd like.
Okay, so basically you see him taking a picture of the things, proving that's there, and then he takes it out. Snow is fine, yeah. It's very in the video. It's like 3 minutes. Different angles.
There we go.
that's what I said. Right? Yeah, that's the notice sign. Yeah. So as you can see, basically put the sign in, made it look like he was going to keep it up for 30 days, moved the car, take the picture, moved his car back, took the sign out, put the sign in his house.
Did the sign ever come back outside?
Yes, it did eventually.
It
Because
did
we
come
had
back
to-
outside?
We had
But
to,
he blocked it with vehicles that won't even
Yeah.
get it. The city has pictures.
and it's sideways too, like halfway in the ground. But he was told he had to put it back in, yeah.
Okay. That's the end of your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Are you here to speak also?
Yes.
Okay, come forward.
My name is-
Name, address, and if you've been sworn.
My name is Suzanne Stinnett. I live at 6915 North River Boulevard, and yes, I've been sworn.
Okay.
The video was taken on October 30th. If you could see a date time on it, that was 2 days prior to it being required to be up. It has been up every day since then. If you continue watching the video, you can actually see now that I've seen that video, I know my house is under constant surveillance. I am videoed every time I walk in and out of my door. There are other pictures that show cars are not sitting in front of our yard every single moment. That sign has been shown. There's been no violation related to the sign. There are 2 vehicles permanently at the house. The fire hydrant is not blocked on a regular basis. The driveway, yes, was removed. Code enforcement said, please remove it. It does not meet code. You need to remove it because of a violation and a complaint, and it was removed. At that time, there was no complaint about the covered patio carport area. That came after the fact. The small fence is not connected to the building. Can be a temporary situation. It is PVC, not metal, and it was put up because we do use that area for storage and would rather it be covered with a fence than people being able to see where all your lawn equipment, some of your things like that are. So that is why that fence was put up, and that is why the driveway was removed. So we have 2 cars, 1-car driveway. Yes, there is a large tree in the front yard. Mr. Murphy was wrong building his driveway to begin with, and he took it out. And now he is requesting to have that patio. The pictures taken of vehicles parked under it were taken in 2013, 2014. There are no more vehicles there to be parked under it. And it is used for storage and a covered area for entertaining friends. We have a TV. We also have dogs. It's a covered area for the dogs to be under as well. So that's basically all I wanted to say.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience that wants to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, board, do you have any questions for the applicant, staff, or any of the other folks that testified? Okay, staff?
Mr. Scott?
And Mr. Murphy, stand to the side.
I'm sorry.
Unless
Yes,
we
I
ask
didn't
you to-
realize there was
yeah,
gonna be
unless we
somebody-
ask you to come up.
Okay.
Jonathan Scott, Transportation Planning, can I do for you?
So what is the city's position? There's obviously a poured driveway, and the second one was removed, but now there's clearly still a driveway, it's just not concrete. So does the city have any policy on non-concrete driveways?
No, as far as we're concerned, the driveway's been removed and we're okay with it. When we first looked at it, we saw the old picture on the Google Street View. So we had a comment about that, but then the applicant got with us and said, no, that's been removed and we're okay with the driveway as
Okay.
is.
If that non-driveway mulch is being used for parking, it's essentially just the yard as far as you're concerned because it's not paved. Does the city have a policy on cars parking in yards that's not a driveway?
I mean, it's not designated as a driveway at that point, you know, as long as it's not being used that way. People have like guest over, might overflow or something, but it's not being designated as a driveway. It's not paved. It's not.
If that covered area was used for parking a vehicle, and so you had to drive through the essentially yard to park in it, would that be considered a driveway or an inappropriate use of vehicular traffic or anything? I'm trying to determine if the city has any position, if that's actually being used as a carport and it's not a driveway and it's not paved. Does the city have any position on that if that were to be occurring?
I mean, I wouldn't want to call it a garage or a carport unless there's cars parked there. The way I understand it is they're just using it for storage.
Okay, but if there were cars parked on there, then you would have some issue with that?
I mean, that's possibly
Okay.
an issue, but.
All right, I was
we're
just trying to
okay
get a
with it
handle
right
on
now.
the
We
two
found
driveway
it-
situation.
We found it consistent after they showed us the old driveway was removed, so.
Okay.
Well, let me ask the question a little bit differently, Mr. Scott. If they have a recognized driveway, which they do, correct? On the other side?
Yeah, they have their other driveway.
Right.
Mhm.
There's nothing in any code that says they can't drive over a front yard regardless. I mean, they can park on it, they can drive over it. If they already have another driveway that meets whatever that city standard is that correct? As far as the definition of a driveway.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know if it's really intended to be like that, but you're correct. It's the code really just says you gotta have 2 paved parking spaces, you know.
Well,
and then
okay,
the
right. And
paved
he has
apron
the
and-
2 paved
So he
parking
meets all
spaces.
those other codes and so
Right.
forth.
Okay.
If he
All right.
drives over his property, you know,
Okay,
nothing
what
really
is,
to-
and I'm not sure this even bears into our deliberations tonight, but the fire hydrant that's out in the pavement because of the dead-end road, there is a law about parking X amount of feet from that, is there not?
That's correct. You can't park in front of a fire hydrant. I think it's like within 10 feet even too, so it's.
Okay, ever. I mean,
That's
nobody's
right.
supposed to park within 10 feet of a fire
Yeah,
hydrant.
it's like a state
Right.
parking law.
Okay, all right,
Mhm.
and we're not code enforcement, so I was just
Sure.
curious, you know, what that does. I don't have any other transportation questions.
Okay, thanks for asking me a question. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's-
You'd be here all night long, yeah.
Very
Mr.
good.
Knox? Yeah, we probably have a couple for Mr. Knox. You're not done.
Brian Knox, Natural Resources.
Okay, my only question, I guess, there's no issue or consideration of any missing trees, correct?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
And also to address the tree that's at the top of the bank, it's not a grand tree. It's a specimen tree, but it's not a grand tree.
Okay, well, that's good. And is it a live oak or laurel?
It's a live oak.
It's a live, okay. And about how big is it?
25 inches
25
approximately.
inches, okay. And the erosion that we heard might exist, can you comment on that?
Well, it was determined by EPC that there was no erosion issues.
Okay.
And so that's the comment, that's a proxy for us.
Okay, and erosion is something that when it happens, there are obvious signs that it's happened.
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right, thank you. Your turn.
I think you may have covered everything that I was about.
Damn.
I think that last question covered the last bit of it, which was essentially, do you know how EPC made that determination? But if the answer is what you just said, then I don't think there's anything further for me to ask.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Seeing none. Applicant, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Yeah, I respectfully request the additional 2 minutes that was granted
Yeah,
to Mr.
I'm gonna give
Gonzalez.
it to you. I'm gonna
Okay,
give it
thank
to
you. This is the site plan again, just to point out, this is going for an after-the-fact permit, which includes the patio on the north side, as well as all of the additions that have taken place over the last 8 years. They're also included in the application, the permit application. I think there were 2 trees, palm trees that were requested to be commented on. They were queen palms. They were diseased trees. As a matter of fact, there were 2 palm trees in the back that died. This is the latest one that died. The other one actually suffered what's called top drop, and the entire top of the tree dropped into the yard. I do want to make a point that the pictures that were taken by Mr. Gonzalez, he was standing on an 8-foot ladder behind his privacy fence, which is to the south, and there's no way that he could have gotten those pictures without being on an 8-foot ladder. Again, all the improvements are being in an attempt to permit after the fact. This is our typical parking. We have 1 car in the drive, and we have 1 car in the front, and you can barely see out here to the end the fire hydrant. Again, from this car to the fire hydrant is about 25 to 30 feet. I think the actual distance required from my research is 15 feet. Here you can see on the side, this is the building. The building is a box body that was purchased from U-Haul. It sits directly on the ground. There are no wheels, axles, or undercarriage. So it basically is a shed. In front of the shed here, you have a 4-foot chain link fence, and you have growth of jasmine here, about 1 foot high, providing for 5-foot coverage or obstruction so that people across the canal cannot see the bottom portion of the shed. The shed itself, let's see, is, if I can find it quickly. Oh, here it is. This is the patio with the shed. And the shed is set 1 foot off of the house. And it is a Carolina carport. That is a prefab, basically comes in, sets it up. The ribs of the carport, as you can see, run horizontally to the edge. This roof line has been designed as a pan and rib structure so that when rain comes down onto the roof, it's actually channeled to the front portion of the shed, which is the front part of the house towards the river. This is actually a download which shows that this is a regular type of a shed. In here, it does state that roof panels are installed horizontally and run parallel to the side of the carport. On a horizontal roof system, water will run along the length of the ridge and drain to the front. So the entire roof is a water management system for rainwater. That's why there's no visible signs of erosion on the side of the house. It is being contained. The canal here is a man-made canal. Back in the 20s, there was a spa there called Goldstein Springs. This canal was basically dredged out after Goldstein Springs was sold to a developer. What happened is they came in with mules and labor, built stack walls along the side, and the project basically came to a standstill when they hit the limestone, and it was very difficult to quarry. The canal was supposed to go to Floral, but dead end at Ola. Let's see. One more second here. There's a lot of paper. Well, anyway, this picture here, the structure itself is set at the eave of the main house. There is a 1 foot separation between the main and the rail. The structure itself is a frame with the corrugated panels running horizontally and base rails. These base rails also act as channeling, the ability to channel water off of the patio into the front of the property. There may have been a question as to the slope. This is a slope meter that was taken. Here's the level that went down on the top of the level. There's a slope meter. This is a slope meter showing a 0.5% or 0.5% slide slope to the front of the property. That basically equates to about 2 inches. So there's a 2-inch slope on the entire structure to the front of the property. Again, here, there's no erosion. Again, in this area, no erosion. And there was a mention of a big tree that was at the front of the property when I moved in. That is correct. The city came in and actually removed a diseased oak tree, and that was back in 2000, I believe it was 11. So to address that, that comment that was made earlier. One more note. All of the structure here that we're going for after the fact permit is indeed 23, almost 24 feet from the property line. On the property line in the back, there is a 6-foot wood fence, picket fence, and then on the south side again is the 6-foot vinyl privacy fence as well.
Can you wrap it up, please, Mr.
Sure.
Murphy?
And then I think my girlfriend made it clear that the sign has been in the front of the house continuously since November 1st. All of the requirements were met by the staff and the VRB to provide them with the proper notices of mailing, as well as copies of the sign that was in the yard since November 1st, which is basically 40 days when only a 30-day notice is required. And of course, here are the notices of mailing dated October the 31st.
Okay, all right. Well,
okay, I'm good.
Staff reviews all that, and that's good. I got to ask zoning a question. This is an I got to ask 2 questions. This is an accessory structure, correct? The carport / patio covering, Carolina, whatever.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pull a site plan.
Says to vest and existing conditions of accessory structure. Meaning it's not attached to the primary structure, correct?
Let me just pull my,
So I hate to ask the next question. Why isn't there a 5-foot separation requirement?
I see on this, it's sitting 1 foot off of,
Yeah, I mean, we heard testimony from
Yes.
a lot of people, it's about a
Yes.
foot off. So why isn't there a 5-foot requirement? Eave to
eve to
eave.
eve separation. That is an excellent question. And we can certainly,
I mean, I'm sorry I didn't ask that one about 45 minutes ago.
so.
I didn't think of it.
Well, he didn't testify until.
Well, yeah, I know.
Towards the very
It
end,
was
he said
it
1 foot
1 foot,
multiple times.
but I mean, I think we heard other people
It's not
mention
attached
it.
anywhere to the primary.
Okay, so I hate to be the Grinch, but he didn't notice that it was a 1 foot separation or 6 inch or whatever it is. Are we caught here? I mean, can we give any approval?
You can only approve what has been requested and what's
requested.
been noticed. So, to the extent that additional variance would be required, you would have to go through the process again.
Go through the process. And that's completely different than what he's already done, so it would start the whole 60-day thing over? Because
I don't know that it's a substantial change, or if that's what you're referring
Well,
to. I
could
mean,
we
it is
continue
referring to.
it? Could we continue it even if it took him?
Right, I think a postponement could be sufficient to put notice out there, comply with the notice, and then come back just to cure the deficiency in the application.
And not to telegraph one way or the other, because I don't know that I've made a decision on this at this moment, but a continuance would be required to grant. It would not be required to deny what has been set forth before us. Is that accurate?
Well, I think the board could grant what's requested as it's
Right.
been requested, but it would apparently, according to what has been identified now, it would be insufficient to completely cure all the violations on the property.
But that is still for a granting of the application. Doesn't really answer my question as to the denial of the application.
Right,
If the
the
application
denial-
were to be denied, wouldn't matter.
The separation wouldn't
Right,
matter.
the separation wouldn't make an issue.
Right.
Okay.
It would be moot at that point.
With a wetland setback on this property, if it's an accessory structure, would it be a 25-foot setback, or is that for a primary structure, or does it not matter?
It's for all structures.
Okay,
Yes.
so it doesn't matter. So only the separation is the issue, not the actual setback request.
What,
The
do we have any-
setback
do we have any
request would
questions?
change.
No, wait, before we go into discussion, do we have any questions?
True. Could change.
No questions, okay. Before I close the public hearing, does anybody want to ask or suggest to the applicant anything, or do you just want to move forward?
I do.
Okay, we're gonna do, okay, without objection, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was about to ask him something.
I'm sorry.
You
I
closed it
will
right before
open
I
it.
opened
I
my
will
mouth.
not close the public hearing.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If we decide we want to continue this, would you be amenable to that?
I would. I would like to point out that I have been served notice that there was a hearing on January the 22nd regarding the violations. And,
All you have to do is tell code that,
sorry?
all you have to do is tell code that you're being continued, and they'll wait until you're done.
Okay, well, if that's
Is
the
that
case, I
true?
mean,
Yeah.
that would be
true?
good.
Yes.
But I haven't, that's not what I've been told by code,
Okay.
Okay, well,
that,
I can clarify for you,
Okay.
I happen to be the attorney for code enforcement as well.
oh, okay, great.
When you apply for a variance, that
Yes.
automatically stays
Suspends.
any code enforcement action that would be related to that variance.
Okay.
So I'm not familiar with what exactly you were cited for, or what the violation was, but if the violation is related to this variance action.
Yes, it is.
There can be no action on the code enforcement magistrate side until this, the Variance Review Board has concluded.
Okay. Now, I do have a question with regard to the 1 foot off of the main. Do I immediately file for because I want to get that approved. I've seen other properties that has been approved as part of the site plan because it was picked up that there was a deficiency at that point. If the entire property has been determined that the setback reduction is approved, then, and just with the exception of this 1 foot, I don't see where the 1 foot makes a lot of difference since the entire structure was included in the application and in the notice to everyone. Because it would have been public record as it's filed and everything.
The application and the notice requirements require the nature and the degree of the request to be included. So even though it sounds like a technical defect, it is a defect, and if it wasn't properly noticed and properly applied for, then the board can't grant it, and you'll have to
So with the
postpone that
continuance,
aspect of it.
so with the continuance, obviously, I want to have the structure approved. And how do I then notice, or what do I do to include the 1 foot?
You'd have to amend you'd have to go through the notice process the same as before.
Okay.
Amend your sign and amend your application, resubmit to staff.
Okay,
And the case would be postponed however long that it would need for that to be done. I would defer to staff on how long that would take.
okay. I'm not familiar with the amendment process. I guess I would get with Roberta. And it's just basically taking what I have, saying we're going to amend and postpone, and then I just come back at a later date.
You have to clarify that there's an additional variance that's needed to completely cure this situation.
Okay.
It's the building separation.
So I just file the amendment with staff, and is there a fee or is it no fee? Just a
I don't know the answer.
amendment?
Yeah, I think you can ask all these questions separately.
Okay, okay.
I'd be happy to clarify with you, Al.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
it is important to ask some questions because the alternative is we just go ahead and vote on what was done. And then he has to deal with the other issue separately. So it's good to ask the questions of what's the difference between amending and continuing versus us just voting. Okay, so if you guys don't mind, I want to be sure he understands what the differences are.
Well, if we discuss that, and that's what we want to offer.
Okay, all right, well then I'm going to have to move to close the public hearing to go into discussion.
Well, before we do, because we talked about amending and deferring to a later date, isn't that what we're talking about doing? Or
Yeah, I mean, that's one possibility, and in fairness to you, you're literally in your rebuttal time right now. We're
Okay.
bringing up a brand-new issue. You need to be afforded time to react to that.
I got you, okay.
Okay, so I'm trying to give it to you.
Okay,
You've
I
asked
appreciate
some
it.
good
I was trying to
questions.
make
You've
sure I
asked some
understood
good
what's going on.
questions, and we're all tired, and we all want to go home.
Yes, we
But I
are.
want to be sure that with the time invested here,
Mhm.
that you have the opportunity to make the decision. So our options are, one, to let you postpone, or two, we go to vote on what you've already noticed. That's it. Those are our two options tonight.
Okay.
Tonight. So you tell us, and we'll.
Well, I'm
Well,
sorry.
Well, I think he can request it. I guess we could deny it.
I'm not familiar with that happening in the past. Usually we allow
Usually we work with the
postponements
applicant.
when they request them,
Right.
but I'll defer to the board.
Well, okay, I'm gonna give you the option, because you could say, you guys heard all my testimony, vote tonight, get this one thing behind me. If
Do you have the authority to make that decision for the 5 or 6 of us?
I'm asking the applicant if he would like to make a decision.
I believe making the amendment and postponing would be the appropriate thing to do. That way we were able to cover all aspects of the structure and the improvements and the reduction in setback.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, it
Yes.
basically means he's got to renotice. The
Right.
public will have another opportunity to come back.
But the public should have the opportunity to comment on his request, exclusively on the request for the continuance.
Anybody want to comment about that?
Yes.
Okay, come forward, but don't take a lot of time, please.
I already had one person who had to leave because it was so late. I had another one who gave up his time so that I could, try to go over the PowerPoint presentation I spent all that money on. Staff told me I'd probably be able to do that. I was rushed through it,
And-
missed
and-
several
and I
important
gave you
things.
extra time.
I just think it should be resolved here tonight. It's causing a hardship, on us being here this late, and to come back, it would just,
Okay, but do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
understand that if the board approves his application tonight, he still has to go notice again on the 5-foot separation? You're gonna come back again if you want to. You don't have to, but if you wanna come back again, when he renotices, you'll have that opportunity.
Yes, I will. I'm just
Okay.
hoping that based on all the evidence I provided and he provided,
Well, none of
it
that's
should be.
none of that's been lost because it's public record. And so if we vote tonight, it'll be a done deal one way or the other.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking
If we
for.
don't vote on that tonight, we'll have to.
That's what I'm looking
No,
for.
I'm talking about the wetland setback issue only.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
That'll be done one way or the other if we vote tonight.
Yes.
If we don't vote tonight, the wetland issue is still out there for us to vote on.
Yeah, we took a lot of time to come here to hopefully get this resolved and spend a lot of money and resources to present the evidence to you, so I'd like to see it move forward if that's
Okay.
the question I'm being
Does
asked.
anybody else have an opinion they'd like to express? Okay. Are we okay to close the public hearing? Without objection. I've had objections. No objections, I'm gonna move to close the public hearing. Okay, board discussion.
Like I was trying to say many minutes ago, I don't support this request. There's no hardship. Contractor not pulling permits is not a hardship. It's the burden of the owner to know what their agents are doing for them. This applicant seems to be extremely knowledgeable on the building process and is citing other zoning hearings and things that he's witnessed and using all sorts of construction language that makes it the appearance that he's very knowledgeable. The statement of hardship literally says, yes, contractor failed to pull permits. That is not a statement of hardship. The next item, hardship or practical difficulty does not result from the actions of the applicant. Well, by law, yes, it does. It says no by contractor, but the contractor is the agent of the applicant. So yes, the applicant built this structure. Will not substantially interfere health, safety, welfare, I don't know. Is in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan? Well, it was originally built with a second driveway that was non-compliant, so I can't see that argument really holds water. So, you know, and we've got, and so the last one, substantial justice being done. We've got considerable, protests from immediate neighbors. So out of the 5 criteria, I see at least 4 of them are absolutely not met. And the 5th one, health, safety, welfare, I don't know, I guess it could be made in any number of ways, but my point is the building separation is irrelevant to me because it does not change exactly what we're looking at. It changes the procedure of it, but if the inclination is to deny, it doesn't change that outcome at all. Now, what it could do is that it could make the setback issue worse if you wanted to separate these structures, or you have to approve that accessory structures literally, you know, right up against the house. Either way, that's where health, safety, and welfare gets involved because that's when your fire spread and things like that come in. So my point is that I would like to make a motion to deny, and if so, then the rest of it's irrelevant. Now, if that doesn't pass, we could certainly vote on a continuance, although at City Hall a few weeks ago that I sat many hours at, a continuance was also denied because of the same reasons made that a lot of people showed up and put time in and that there was not grounds for a continuance. So that could occur as well. So I will make a motion, but I'll wait and see what other people might want to say. Susan?
I've been on this board for 6 years, I think, and I have never once seen an applicant ask for a continuance and be denied.
We actually asked him. Gary asked him. So he didn't ask for it until he was asked. And that's certainly your opinion. You can vote how you like. We could still vote on the continuance. But, you know, when it comes back, we're going to see the same case with a new additional request with exactly the same case.
And just to comment on that, I mean, I'll differ a little bit from what you said. I agree with your first 2 points regarding the hardship relating to the contractor. The last 2 are matter of fact that each can determine individually as to whether the testimony that they can weigh separately they find in favor or against the harmony or the substantial justice. So I will differ with you on that because that's a fact-finding issue, and clearly you've heard the evidence, weighed the evidence, and decided, and that's okay. That's what we're supposed to do. As to Ms. Long's point, I tend to agree with Mr. Pastor that what's gonna come back before us, if the application is changed, is actually gonna be a more significant encroachment into the wetland setback. Because if this thing has to move 5 feet out, it's gonna be further into the wetland setback. So if the decision that's being weighed is we're not in favor of the encroachment now, we might as well make that decision rather than have it come back before us with a larger encroachment into that wetland setback.
But if we're inclined to approve the variance tonight, then we will have to
Correct.
reapprove a greater variance.
That's
in a
correct.
month.
That's correct. That's why it does make sense in my mind to vote on what Mr. Pastor is saying, see how it goes, and then if that suggests that the board is in favor of at least or is opposed to denial, then yeah, let's do the continuance.
You want to say something?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I would like to point out that I think that hardship criteria number 3 has been met. I think that we have to take the environmental, department's finding that there was no erosion. I think that that's probably the biggest and perhaps only argument that this variance should be denied with respect to criteria number 3.
I would argue, though, that an accessory structure is supposed to be separated. It's not. So that's a safety issue.
We're not discussing that.
No,
we're not, but we are.
We're not voting on that, but we
Right.
are discussing.
We are discussing it.
I would, to me though, the bigger question that in an hour's worth of testimony from multiple people wasn't answered was the hardship of why it's placed where it is, right? So yeah, you're right. It's existed in this location for a few years, and the impact upon the wetlands, according to EPC, hasn't been significant. But that still doesn't change to me, the underlying question of, well, do they have a right to put it there in the first place? And that's where I still have concerns based upon the fact that we heard a lot of testimony. By the way, great presentations by both folks. Everybody did a great job of trying to compile the information, but that also suggests to me that with all that information in front of us, I still didn't hear the main issue, which is what's the hardship and why is it here? That's my concern.
And I don't disagree with that. And unfortunately, I think that probably a lot of this was kind of lost in the weeds of trying to rebut, the facts of what one party said versus, the facts of another party and how they were, misstated or misconstrued. And so I don't disagree with you. I just wanted to point out that I think that criteria has been met here.
The other point made by the neighbors was the safety of the fire hydrant, and that we've moved car traffic closer to it by the photographic evidence. So that's for everybody to decide how they feel about that, but that is a safety issue that was brought forward.
Mr. Villa?
I'm in favor of voting on a motion, if someone wants to make one.
I'm in favor of, if somebody want to make a motion.
I move that variance request for case VRB 2001 for the property located at 6915 North River Boulevard for a reduction in the wetland setback from 25 feet to 7 feet on the north side yard with encroachment of eaves and gutters be denied due to the failure of the petitioner to meet its burden of proof and provide competent substantial evidence in the record in this public hearing of unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria as set forth in section 2780 of the city code, specifically that contractor failing to pull permits is not a hardship, and that there are safety concerns in relation to a fire hydrant location, and that there's a significant opposition from neighbors, and the dual driveway scenario, whether being paved or not, is being used apparently in that manner, does not meet the comprehensive plan.
We have a motion for denial. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Villa. Any more discussion? I'm going to apologize for bringing this point up so late, because it does have a bearing on my vote tonight. And I am a little bit confused as to how I should vote, but I have to vote. So I'm going to call the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. So we're deadlocked. So basically it gets continued automatically to next, well, now the issue, the new issue that I raised is outside of this application unless he amends it. So that's his decision, correct?
Well, Mr. Chair, I would just first ask that I be given an opportunity to look up the rule about the automatic continuance.
Uh-oh.
This has come up before, and I believe when we discussed it prior, the automatic continuance only comes into play if the tie vote results in there being no other options left for the board to consider.
Actually, let me correct what I just said about a tie vote. Actually, a vote for denial can pass with 3 votes, can it not?
The vote for denial can pass with a simple majority.
No, it's 3 votes.
Let me just find the rule and I'll read it to you.
When there's 6 members.
This
when
is
there's 6 members, or 5, or 4. I know. So the question is,
okay, so the
we have
first, and this is Rule 5.1 in your Rules of Procedure, and it says that a simple majority vote of those board members present shall be sufficient to conduct routine business, deny an application, and to deny an administrative official determination's appeal. However, the vote of at least 4 members of the board shall be required to approve. So you need 4 to approve, but a simple majority of those present can deny. As for the insufficient or tie vote, it says when a matter is considered by the board and an insufficient or tie vote is obtained, the board's action becomes a nullity and the matter shall be automatically carried over for consideration at the board's next meeting as unfinished business. And we have previously talked about that. That's Rule 5.2, and there was some question when I raised it before, and you had suggested that that the insufficient or tie vote is only obtained when all potential motions have been put to the floor and tie votes or insufficient votes have been achieved at that. So I don't know if that's still the chair's interpretation of that rule.
Well, the 3 vote to deny rule then only applies if it's 5 or less board members? Because it's a simple majority? Because if it's 6, they were still 3 votes to deny.
It's still tied.
It's still tied regardless.
Right, so it's not a simple majority,
Okay.
right.
All right. So this application will continue to next month as is, without any amendments. You can go decide to do whatever you want to do, not tonight.
No.
Okay. And staff will certainly help you out. If you want to amend it, they'll tell you what to do. Otherwise, you'll come back next month and we'll do the same hearing.
Right.
Okay?
And I appreciate y'all's time on this and understanding. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Sir?
Yes.
I'm already scheduled to be in a Variance Review Board meeting next month in North Carolina. Can it be continued to February?
No, I'm sorry, they can't. No.
I'm already scheduled. I can show you the paperwork.
Your testimony is, it's on the books. You said a lot.
I just would like to be here. This is a.
Okay, well, I think you had other family members here tonight that can.
Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, okay. You're welcome. Okay, last case and not least, BRB Hang on, we'll get there. VRB 20-04.
Ready? Okay, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, BRB case number 20-04. Address is 83 Martinique Avenue. Code sections in question tonight, 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet. Applicant is seeking to construct an addition to an existing primary structure. The property is zoned RS 75. Sorry. Property appraiser's information, fumbles today. It's included in the packet for your reference. Right of way is consistent, natural resources is consistent, zoning is inconsistent. Variance map. Property is located here in red. Martinique swings here. The property is located on Davis Island. All properties are R75 surrounding. This is the site plan, and this is the area in question where the addition is going to take place. There is a discrepancy in the notice and the ask, so I will need the authorized agent to clarify what the ask is going to be, and to clarify that that point there is either 3 feet or 4 feet, and they need to amend the plan tonight, and initial and date that for us once they make their presentation. Front of the house. Looking west down the street. Looking east down the street. I have no further information to enter in the record.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none. Applicant, please come forward, state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in.
Hi there, my name is Patricia Ortiz. My address is 2810 North Central Avenue, Tampa 33602, and I have been sworn in. I'm the agent of Jorge Rodriguez, the property owner. Basically, the intent is to square off the building footprint. We are seeking a variance to reduce the western side setback from the required 7 feet to 3 feet, inclusive of all eaves and gutters. And I'll quickly go over the variance criteria and then stand for questions. The challenges or hardships associated with this property are the irregular shape of the lot and the location of the existing home. The existing home was built in 1956 and is not centered on the property. It's a little closer to the western property line than the eastern property line. The lot is irregular in shape. It's slightly wider along the front or southern property boundary and more narrow in the rear or the northern property line. The side property lines angle inward. So when we're thinking about doing an inline addition, the shape of the lot and the location of the existing house create a difficulty. The hardship does not result from the actions of the applicant. We're here tonight seeking variance approval prior to commencement of any construction. Allowing the variance will not substantially interfere with other or nearby property owners. The intent of the variance is to improve the property. The proposed 3-foot setback will be measured from the leading edge of the structure, not from the building wall. And the applicant is proposing to install a gutter system to direct the water away from that most affected neighbor. The variance is in harmony with both the Land Development Code and the Comprehensive Plan, which work together to, among other things, promote public health, safety, and welfare, stabilize and enhance property values, and aid in the development and redevelopment of the city. This variance is the minimum necessary to accommodate the existing conditions. The home currently is set, the leading wall, exclusive of eave, is only 6.8 feet from the property line, where 7 feet is required. Let's see, allowing the variance will result in substantial justice. Again, this is the most minimal variance required to make this work. This home is the smallest home on the block, and it has the lowest property value. Allowing the addition is a most reasonable solution, considering that there has been a trend towards larger homes with more open floor plans, and the area for infill development on Davis Islands is very, very limited. Finally, the requested setback reduction is in line with the development of the area, where a number of variances have been approved in the past. I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
for being
you.
brief. Anybody in the audience? Seeing none? Board? No? Seeing none? Board, questions of the agent or staff? Okay, I have one.
Okay.
The proposed addition, is it simply this blocked out site plan that?
No, not necessarily, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you?
No, I mean,
Okay.
do you have plans of the proposed addition?
We're asking for the variance prior to obtaining a development plan for the addition. We know we can meet the setback requirement in the rear and on the opposite side, the east side. So the addition, the complications come along this particular boundary, and it's necessary on this particular boundary because of the age of the house. The interior layout is not in line with the current real estate trends. The rooms are small, the hallways are narrow, and I believe it only has one restroom.
One bathroom?
Yeah, well, I guess one bathroom and 2 bedrooms, so.
I don't have any other questions. Anything else? You have 5 minutes for rebuttal.
I think I've covered everything as fast as I could, and if you don't have any more questions, there's nothing I need to rebut.
Okay. I'll move to close the public hearing without objection. All right, we're in discussion. Somebody want to make a motion or talk?
I'm happy to make a motion. That's because I'm exhausted. Move that the variance request for case VRB 20-04 for property located at 83 Martinique Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing to reduce the west side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet with an encroachment for the eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-8 SIG code, specifically that we have an irregularly shaped lot with an existing home placed uncentered upon that lot, shifted more towards the western side, that the applicant is proposing to install gutters to help minimize any of the encroachment, and that this is the smallest home on the block and is intended to preserve existing construction as opposed to tear down and rebuild.
Okay, we have a motion for approval by Mr. Feldman and a second by Ms. Walker. Any more discussion? I'm not going to support this because there's plenty of room on this lot to make whatever they want to build fit. And there's, FEMA is trying its hardest to make some of the older structures in floodplains like Davis Island go away. And the reason that the state has a 50% of value rule on the structure is to let people know that it's difficult for them to do extensive additions without bumping into that threshold, that value threshold. So for them to do any significant addition, I'm not even sure they could meet that threshold. I understand, it's up to the building department, but the lot itself, even though it's oddly shaped, has quite a bit of width in the backyard, so I'm not going to support it. All right, so we have a motion for denial and a second. All in favor, say.
Motion for approval.
Excuse me, for approval. I'm tired too. We have a motion for approval with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Pardon? You're opposed, so you were approved 5-2.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
Tell me that.
Did we beat 1 o'clock? Did we beat 1 o'clock? Barely.
Yeah, draw the dimension.
Like you want me to like 25, 30 seconds.
No, draw like that, like a dimension line.
Oh, like